let's dig into a couple things. Maybe some of you saw on the news, this guy right here, Richard Spencer. Some student here at Penn State asked if he could come speak at Penn State. They didn't go through UPAC or some other organization or whatever the case is, but somehow the word came down that they wanted him to speak. And the president, our president, President Barron, said no. In fact, not only no, but, well, no, we can't, because it's a safety issue, because this guy has been identified as being supportive, a part of, I'm not sure, there are lots of things that he accepts and denies. It really gets complex. It's not just him, it's lots of other people in his movement, associated with white supremacist ideas, associated with neo-Nazi ideas, associated with just this idea of the necessity of there being a white nation state or a white area. I'm going to talk about it in a second. So there are lots of things that he accepts, and there are other things that he rejects. And I'm not going to go into it too deeply. I'm going to give you a few things that are part of this movement. It's called one thing that he's really started or initiated or helped to initiate is called the alt-right movement, the alternative right movement, alternative conservative movement in the United States. So much more, again, a complex mix of ideas. So they were really at the center of things down in Charlottesville a couple weeks ago. Now, one thing that's, I think, important that you need to understand from me as part of this class, or the way I approach this class, is I'm not here to politicize, and I'm not here to get you to be part of social movements or to engage in protests or do any of that stuff. I'm really here to do my best job of educating you to understand what the issues are, so that those of you who are, if you identify as more conservative, that you really understand what it means to be more conservative, not just it's just sort of flippantly saying, like, yeah, I'm conservative because, I don't know, my parents are, or who knows what. I don't know, I have some random idea. It's a very complex ideology. If you identify as more liberal, that you really understand what it means to be liberal, and the implications of that. And to take a progressive stance is a very difficult thing to do. And so it's like calling yourself a Muslim or a Christian. That are two ideologies, two religious thought systems that are really rooted around a moral framework that's a very complex moral framework. And it's really hard to hold all the elements of that consistently. So it's hard to hold the elements of liberalism consistently. And in fact, most people really have no idea what it is, just like conservatism, right? So that's my job, understand. And we're going to start today. So let me treat this guy with, let me look at, here's some of the pieces of alt-right. And mostly you're not going to get slides with a lot of wording on them, but you're going to get a couple here. So here's 3 essential beliefs that he holds. White culture of European origin, not Jews, by the way. Jews, those of you who are Jewish, you're not part of this, right? So you might be white, but you're not right. Okay, so is the most advanced culture, and at risk of being eliminated and or weakened through multiculturalism, through assimilation, through amalgamation, through like sort of blending with other cultures. Okay, humans of European ancestry, again, not Jews. Sorry, you're not part of this. Are the most evolved humans, physically, intellectually, psychologically, and morally. This is just sort of a central tenet. Okay. And for the good of humanity, white culture and people might need their own ethno-state. So the idea here is if white people are really the most advanced. Now, this is not, you're not immediately a neo-Nazi just because you have this idea. You can maintain Nazism. There were many components to Nazism that are not. So to label these guys all neo-Nazis just because you have the idea that white culture might be the most advanced is not fair. And I'll go out on a limb and say that. That's not really fair. It's not understanding it. And in fact, in many ways, it's more dangerous than that. And so, however, the idea is these folks have this idea that, human beings have evolved over time, and white people have evolved further than other people. White cultures of European cultures, and includes the U.S., have evolved further than other cultures. They're more complex. They have a more solid moral ethic. It's a more solid moral framework. Just overall better people, psychologically, emotionally, et cetera, et cetera. And so therefore, these folks, because it's only white people in the movement, obviously, we can't allow this culture. Like, what's going to happen to the world if this important white culture and these important white people suddenly get pushed by the wayside by black and brown people? And so black and brown people start to put their genes, insert their genes into the white genetic admixture / gene pool, and then what happens to life on Earth? You get it, right? You see the issue. So if you believe that, then this is a real problem. When you start to see intermarriage and racial mixing, and you start to see this, U.S. culture or European culture being like watered down by all these Middle Easterners or Asians or Africans moving into Europe, and then all these folks from the Middle East and Latin America and Asia and so on moving into the United States. And then, in a few decades, the U.S. will have more brown people than we have white people. And oh my God, this is a problem if you have this belief. So you see this, right? You got it?